You're listening to From a Certain Point of Skew, the only Star Wars podcast that asks more unneeded questions than gives answers. I'm Jason, the Angry Ginger Jedi Guy. I'll be giving you color commentary today. I'm broadcasting live from inside my Wookiee Poo studios. And to go with my color commentary, I need to bring in Darth Mathias, who gives us all the paperwork and all the knowledge that we need to talk 2 shows today. Hello, Darth.
Hello, I'm your play-by-play announcer. That is for sure.
Yes. You're the Frank Gifford to my Dennis Miller.
There you go. Well, Frank Gifford was more of an analyst. It was Al Michaels, right? Wasn't he the play-by-play guy for that crew? Either way, I like your analogy. This is episode 98. We are very, very close to episode 100.
Man, 2 more episodes and we shut the doors. We're done.
Yeah, we're just done. Just put a bow on it.
Surprise, everyone.
We'll start a whole new one.
Yeah.
No, but we have, I think we mentioned last week that, if you want to send something in for our 100th, that'd be great. We'd love to get some voicemails, emails, but voicemails would be great too. So send those in and we'll save them for episode 100 if you'd like. That'd be awesome. We got a couple things in the works that we're doing just to kind of refresh the show a little bit. And so maybe some new merch coming. So that'll be good. And yeah, if you want to find us on Twitter at FACPA Pod, you can email the show, facpapod@gmail.com. And we are part of the Podawan Podcast Network at Podawans on Twitter. Oh, and we're from a certain point of skew.com is our website. Reminder for our giveaway, Mandalorian Pulse Blaster Nerf Rifle thing. Question of the week gets you an entry. Maul Bag gets you an entry. Voicemail gets you 2 entries. Review gets you 4 entries. We haven't had a review in a couple weeks now. We'd love to get another one if you want to get on that.
Can we get can we get a picture of you in you can go 2 ways for me. Either you in a robe or you in some camo fatigues and just like Arnold Schwarzenegger, commando, just holding that fucking phaser in the air. Maybe have a big stogie out of your mouth. Can you do that?
I could. I need to get the actual rifle. I have not purchased it yet.
Oh, okay.
So maybe that's step 1, and then we'll work on the actual the display. Speaking of giveaways, by the way, Ty is going to get that saber finally. Got that sorted with him, so he will get that. I think he gets it today, so I hope he enjoys that. The Lego saber hilt. I am a terrible person, Danny. I apologize. I've still not put it in the mail to you, so I will do that by the weekend. I promise.
Stop hoarding all the goods. Only I get to hold on to a Darth Maul saber hilt for over a year.
That wasn't your doing. That was Jeannie needed to come get it.
Right.
That was the problem.
Yeah. Yeah, she didn't want me to mail it. She wanted to get it in person.
This one, Danny's up in Edmonton. I need to get it up to her. I apologize. And yeah, we might have, like I said, we might have some new merch coming. Trying to sort out the store now and maybe some new looks. So look for that soon.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so on the show today, we've got the question of the week. It's what's next for IG-11? In the news, we've got bits and bobs from Acolyte and Skeleton Crew. Iger pumping the brakes. That son of a bitch. He's going to get a little something from me when we get to that segment. Mandalorian Episode 3, The Convert, and Bad Batch Episode 13, Pabu, we'll be covering. Both of those, and then we'll go into the mail bag. There's 1 email. We'll read it. For now, though, let's start with that. I'm not even going to argue with you. You put it in the show notes. We're reading the fucking email. Question of the week.
Yeah, so with R5 serving his purpose on Mandalore, what will become of IG-11? Do we put the statue back together? Do we find a memory board and use him for something else? Is Grief mad that he went to all that trouble for nothing? I still think he's going to be a little perturbed. So we got some good answers. Josh Tuff starts out with, I hope he gives him some grief about all the wasted effort. Wah, wah. Then RFB chimes in. I can answer that, but might stir up trouble.
Oh, that's right, because he's part of that spoiler page.
Exactly. I don't want to know what's behind the door. RFB, okay? All those doors. Chris Meyer says, easy. They combine R5 and IG-11 into one super mech to rule them all.
Oh, wouldn't that be funny if the R5 has the chip that the IG-11 needs, and they didn't even put that together yet?
But it would
That's
be
all it was.
But it's the scaredy cat chip, so it'd be IG-11, not as brash and outgoing. He'd be a little bit more nervous.
That's true.
Brown Leader from Hyperspace Heroes podcast says IG will get repaired just in time for the pirates' attack on Navarro that we see in the trailers. He'll come through and help in the battle at a clutch moment. Afterward, he'll be made the new Marshal of Navarro. That is a great prediction.
It is. That's bam. I mean, we were predicting that Bill Burr would come back, but
right.
That all lines up. I mean, he's already there. He's going to get fixed. What's going to happen to him after he's fixed? So, ding, ding, ding. I think we're going to send you a T-shirt if you get that right.
Are we sure we can trust IG-11 to be the marshal? Do we want to give him that much power?
Well, I think if it's the IG-11 that decided not to blow himself up and won't kill Grogu, then sure, yeah.
Yeah. Because, I mean, what happens if there's like some sort of protest or something and he's like, I must self-destruct, and then he just blows a bunch of people up? Like, yeah, I don't know. Quite trust
that's the thing is like he would have to be reprogrammed because anything, like, someone steals something off the fruit cart and he goes, whizzing by at 100 miles an hour and just blows their fucking head off.
Right.
Like it's
like RoboCop, but even less human.
Yes, exactly.
Mike Laybourne says he's going to get a new memory board, but the only one available is from a Commodore 64, so all the instructions have to be loaded through a cassette player.
Oh, nice.
He also said another thing. He said, or the only memory board available is from a PS1, and instructions have to be coded through the Galaxy's only compatible video game, Music 2000. Max Rebo will program it, and he sent a picture with that.
Yes.
I do not remember this Music 2000 thing. Do you remember this?
No, it was like you could make like your own beats and stuff. It was sort of like Garage Band on the PS2. I knew there was a guy that I worked with. Well, this is the PS1, but there was a guy I worked with that actually would put together like his rap music on. He had the PS2 version, I think it was, and he did all of his rap songs off of like these PS2 beats that he would make. I was like, that seems like a lot of time, but
yeah, well, you use what you got.
Mm-hmm.
Next up is Brian Auer. Put IG-11's brain inside of R5, making a chopper-esque murder droid to fly the N1 as well as to cause havoc to the Jawas everywhere. Why do you want to cause so much havoc to the Jawas? What do they do to you, Brian?
It's not like they don't deserve it. No. The Jawas need to be put in line.
I think that the Jawas, they're just opportunistic. That's all it is. They're not bad people. They just make and do. Brian from Scotland says IG-11 will be repurposed as a Sibian like poor B2EMO OBS, as in obviously. B2EMO. Who's that?
B2EMO. That's Andor, right?
Oh, right. It's the droid that Andor has, his little pet dog.
Now,
I already forgot.
I could be wrong. And now, what is Sibian? Is Sibian like... wasn't that the thing that the girl sat on and it like gets her off in Howard Stern's Private Parts? Or that was a speaker, but isn't that what that is?
Oh, yes, you're right. It's a masturbation device. Yeah, they sit on it. Good call. I totally skipped over that because I read this so fast and just copied it over before I even looked at it.
Oh, boy.
Oh, you got me, Brian. The only reason it
stood out to me is because it's got a red line underneath it like it was spelled wrong. And I'm just looking at that and I'm like, isn't that what that's...
the actual spelling. I think he's got the spelling right. Maybe it needed to be capitalized. That's why. That's the issue. Okay, Kendallorian says, I still think he'll be revived eventually. They wouldn't go to that trouble for nothing. That said, I love R5. Yeah, I think we're going to see him in some capacity. I mean, why would you take that goddamn statue apart and then not use him?
Right.
And finally, the Force Dyad podcast says, there is a part of me who feels like he is a bit of a red herring, like something to force Mando back to Tatooine to get R5. Finally giving R5 his worthy send-off he didn't get in the original trilogy. I feel IG served his purpose in season 1, and to trivialize that would be unfortunate. Yeah, because we already made the statue. You don't need to, bring him back and maybe he disappoints. He's already had his magical moment.
Yeah, but I mean, this is going to be another version of him, right? Because I do like the idea up there where they said he got, or we just discussed where he sort of changes, so he's going to act a little bit different. Like that could be.
Yeah.
I mean, we're spending. I mean, really, the Mandalorian and what we go into the Bad Batch and we'll be discussing is really all of it is just to prove how somehow Palpatine came back, right? So
sure.
If you can fucking do that, why can't we just bring IG-11 back?
That's true. Nobody's ever truly gone. That's it. Thank you, everybody, for your question of the week answers. You will all get entries into the giveaway. Appreciate that. Next is the news. Just a couple items here. So the Acolyte continues to film, and there was notes about it being shot on an island in Portugal this month. And there's also some news that apparently the plan is for it to be multiple seasons, not just a limited series. So we should be getting at least 2 seasons, if not more.
Right.
So that's good. Yep. I'm always down for that, especially if it's turns out to be good, and I think this one's going to be so different it should be good.
Wasn't the Acolyte they just posted where they're shooting where Kashyyyk has been used before?
Kashyyyk is. Oh, right? Is that what they said? That where they're filming is where they did some Kashyyyk shots?
I think I just saw something the other day that popped up. I thought that maybe I didn't share that, but I think that's what I didn't read the article. I just saw what people were posting. I think that's what they were saying it was.
It's in some forest on that island, so it would make sense that there's some Kashyyyk action there. And we already know there's a Wookiee in it. We've seen those shots of that Wookiee.
Right.
So that makes sense. Then the other thing was the Skeleton Crew. So did we talk about this last time about the rumors about the pirates being like the antagonists in the Skeleton Crew? Yes. Did we talk about that? Okay.
Yes.
I couldn't remember if we talked about it or not.
Talk about Vegan the Hutt and his crew. That's sort of like they're being introduced in this, but they'll carry on over to Skeleton Crew. And now, what did we talk about? We talked about also the Skeleton Crew in the bar, right? And how
the school
Jude Law was like in the background, or like maybe you see him run away or some shit.
I couldn't remember if we talked about that or we DM'd about it, but we were going to joke about how Jude Law, you go back and get his perspective, and he actually walks behind Grief Cargo in that scene where he welcomes Mando. Yeah, because a lot of people are thinking that school is maybe where they all originate, the kids, and then maybe even Jude Law as well, if he's like supposed to be their teacher or something.
Yeah.
And then I think that was it. I think that was it for those bits. Bob Iger. Oh boy, here we go. So let me preface this by saying that we are a fan of Bob Iger on this podcast, and we're glad he's back. But he's made some comments lately that have us a bit concerned, including you, Jay. So he was talking about the plan to, quote, reduce the expense per content, whether it's a TV series or a film, where costs have just skyrocketed a huge way and not a supportable way. So he's a little bit worried about costs and profitability. And that's always a little bit of a concern.
This is funny because this is like kind of happening across the board. You're hearing about this from David Zaslav's, the same thing with him and HBO Max, to the point where even they're like reselling some of their content. Like it's not exclusive to just HBO. They're going the other way now. And they've even like some of the stuff that they've turned down is now getting picked up. Like Amazon, I think it was Amazon just picked up the Batman, the Cape Crusader animation series from Abrams and Bruce Timm. So some of that stuff is like they're not trying to hold on to everything and they're moving along. But Disney's growth has been so exponential. I'm not quite sure. I see cutting costs. Like they're making shit. Like it seems like every once in a while something will pop up on Disney Plus, and I'm like, what is this? You know, it doesn't seem like there's even an audience for it. But I would say continue putting the money. Like after watching this episode of The Mandalorian and the special effects for that dogfight scene and everything, like don't not put money into this show. It looks amazing.
Right. Yeah. That and he talked before about like streamlining everything, getting rid of some of the extraneous stuff and really focusing on the core brands. But if you're also talking about cutting costs on the core brands, that makes me a little bit concerned. Maybe they're all just like Netflix ruined it for everybody, because Netflix kept buying shows for $8 billion and putting all this money into these shows, and you're thinking, how the hell are they going to make this money back? So maybe they set the bar so high now everybody's kind of retracting a little bit. I'm not sure. Yeah,
and that's the funny thing is, like, look at Amazon. Look at how much money they put. What do they pay? $2 billion for the rights alone and the first 2 seasons for the Lord of the Rings, and then they just bought the rights to another huge fantasy series they're going to put a bunch of money in. They just dropped the trailer to Citadel, which is the Russo brothers series, that 8 episodes, and it cost $200 million by the time they got done shooting the thing. And I think they just greenlight that for a second season, but that's going to be like they're doing spin-offs and shoot-offs, and, you know, they're creating their own universe. So hopefully it works out, because they're already spending a bunch of money on that. So yeah, you do see like them spending money, and then you're hearing about these cost cutting too. So it's not like it's a bad move, right? I mean, they're in business to, like, you know, financially, like,
trying to make money,
cut the corners, but make the most money they can. But when we're not seeing Star Wars films, and I think we're going to finally hear some information soon, but don't start taking away. And it would make more sense, because years ago, one of the reasons why they didn't release the original Star Wars show, the name is escaping me right now. What was that called?
Oh, the Underground?
Underground, right? Was because, you know, it was sets and how they were going to reuse it. And we've seen them reusing like Tatooine sets between shows. And for Skeleton Crew, it does make sense for them to use like that area of Navarro, right? Where they can kind of reuse it. They have a spot. We recognize it, but it's also being reused for another TV show, keeps costs down. So maybe that's something that he's kind of talking about.
Right. I love the way Andor was shot, and the fact that they built that entire town of Ferrix. And so that probably wasn't very cheap. And so that just makes me, I just want to make sure that we're not like going, let's just shoot 98% of every show in the fucking volume because it's cheap. because we already built
Right.
it, versus actually making all these practical sets. But I mean, look at what they're doing with the Acolyte. They're building sets out on an island in Portugal, so they're still spending money, you know? He also went on to say, he was talking about how the sequel trilogy really did well and Rogue One did well. He's like, but, quote, Solo was a little disappointing to us. It gave us pause just to think maybe the cadence was a little too aggressive, and so we decided to pull back a little. We still are developing Star Wars films. We're going to make sure that when we make one, that it's the right one. So we were being very careful there. I don't think it was the cadence necessarily. No. It was the fact that you didn't market it for shit and you had to reshoot the whole goddamn thing. So I think that's just a one-off, and they're treating it like that seems to be like this guiding light of, well, we don't want to make that mistake no matter what happens. Don't make that Solo mistake again. That's how they're feeling. But it's like, no, it was a goof. Like it didn't go the way you wanted. Maybe you weren't involved early enough to stop it from going in a certain direction, and then you wanted to redo the whole damn thing. And then you marketed it like shit and put it out 6 months after one of the sequel trilogy movies. So what did you expect?
And it's like they keep blaming it on the audience. Well, the audience didn't show up. Well, why not? Like there's
I don't know. And it wasn't like it was a total dud. I get what they're saying, but it's like if you didn't have to reshoot it, it would have, the numbers would have looked a little bit better.
Right. Yeah. And it made enough money to be like, you know what, there was some fans here. And I really wish they would release like what the numbers have looked like now that it's been on Disney Plus for a little bit, because it seems to have turned into like a cult favorite for the lack of a better term. Like people really enjoy this movie. I never, except for fucking villain senior, talk shit about it. It seems like it's a beloved film, and there's been films in the past that have made less and done far worse that have found an audience on home video, so to speak, and they've made sequels, and it's just been, they've gone from there. So they're treating it like a redheaded stepchild, and I am not hearing about it. That's just where I'm at right here.
That hits you hard. That's below the belt
for it, man. Yeah.
All right. Well, that was it for news. Let's get into The Mandalorian, The Convert at the Covert. Overall thoughts for you on this episode? How many times have you seen it? Just the once?
I was only able to watch it once, yeah.
Same here.
And when I finished it, I thought, okay, cool bookend. Kind of not boring, but like I had to sit with it for a bit. The more I started thinking about it, though, like there's a lot going on there that started triggering like Andor feelings.
Yes.
So I was like, there's, I appreciate what they're doing. Kind of took us away from the Mandalorian, and if my complaint is anything, I just want more of that. Like I loved it in the Book of Boba Fett. Like it is like one of my all-time favorite Star Wars characters. So, but I love the story. I like them taking a breather and bringing in these other characters and giving us some more mythology.
Yeah, well, it's part of the larger plot. So I mean, I think that's what you're saying is what the biggest gripe will be for most people. I haven't really looked at reviews, but it's too much time away from Mando, and we're spending so much time on this other storyline. Well, it's like, well, yeah, if you want the payoff later, you need to set these roots now,
right?
So that you understand what's going on. And frankly, I really enjoyed it. I like that they move over and show these different characters, and I loved seeing Coruscant and all the inner workings of Coruscant. And we really got into some things like kind of the blurry lines between how things were with the Empire versus how things are with the New Republic, and how those old Imperials are being treated, and all these different things that I thought were really cool to get into. I mean, that being said, of course, the fight sequence at the beginning, the aerial battle, was pretty damn awesome.
Yes, it was amazing.
And it was cool at the end when we got to see kind of that confrontation of sorts, not really one, but like that meeting between Bo and the other Mandalorians. I think it was great to have those two things to start and end the episode, with the middle being like the meaty.
I do too.
Context.
I think there would have been more complaints had we just had like a Pershing episode, So it kind of worked really well for them to put bookends of the Mandalorian stuff on both. So, we opened up where we left off. We got to see a cool action scene. Then we went through a lot of like intellectual kind of dialogue and thematic things. And then we end with, this is the way. So I thought it was a great episode.
Yeah, I thought it was good. You could have gone more traditional original trilogy style and gone back and forth a little bit more between the two storylines. But however, I think it worked to keep it all kind of contained in that space to just we're going to go through this whole thing. Yep. Also, I saw someone mention that at some point you hear Snoke's theme. I did not hear that, so I need to listen to that for the next time through. And also the March of the Resistance theme. So both those theme songs, they said you hear played at a certain points in the episode during the main beefy part of it. And I did not catch those, so I got to listen for that.
Okay.
All right, so we pick up where we left off with Bo-Katan. I mean, like immediately after the end of the last episode. And she's, telling Din, like, okay, I witnessed it. You've been redeemed. Like, you're good. I got your back. He's like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and get a little sample of water here just to be sure.
Yeah. Now, see, to me, this is where he fucked up, right? You grab a couple of bottles and you keep a couple to yourself. So when that fucking helmet comes off again, you can just, bathe yourself in the waters afterwards. You don't have to go for a starship ride across the galaxy to go down underneath again. That's my thoughts.
I see what you're saying, to actually use it to bathe with yourself. I thought you were saying like you go back to the armor again and go, see, I got some more. Like just like you fake it, like you lie that you went there.
Oh, yeah, that'll work too. Like I'll be back in a minute.
Yeah, right. See, I got more.
He just keeps them thrown on the dashboard of the ship.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Bo asked him, hey, did you see anything? What'd you see when you were down there? He's like, not much. It's like a ridge and it went down. She's like, did you see anything living? He's like, what are you talking about? She's like, nothing. So why do you think she's keeping that from him?
Well, okay. So there's two schools of thought we can have here, right? Like there's she's keeping something from him, right? Or is it that she thinks she was hallucinating, or just like, did I really see what I thought I saw? Because when she was kind of just sitting there at the beginning, he starts coughing and wakes up, and don't give him CPR or anything. Just let's see what happens.
He'll be fine.
She seemed like it's a little unfazed, but yeah, it was. I couldn't tell whether she was playing it as she didn't believe what she saw, or she was holding something from him when she was asking him. How did you take it?
Maybe she thought of it like, nobody's going to believe me. I need to be 100% sure. That thing was fucking massive. Maybe also so amazed by the size of it that it was like, did I see what I thought I saw? Because that thing was enormous. So that's possible.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think it's just mostly in the realm of, I don't need to share this information yet. Not necessarily hiding it from anybody, but just like, I need to be sure about what that is before I go talking out, telling tales. Yeah. By the way, it always cracks me up when you see Din recovering from getting his ass kicked or whatever has happened, because I just think of Pedro Pascal in the studio just going, okay, what do I need to do here? What am I recording? Oh, just it's just all him. It's him grunting. Like half of his lines are just him grunting.
Yes.
So on their way back to Kalevala, they get attacked by TIE interceptors. Fucking awesome scene.
Man.
And Mando goes skydiving. I like that. Just fucking jumps out of the goddamn bomb bay doors and coasts down to his ship, lands, and barely gets in that ship and takes off before the platform gets destroyed. Now, there is a lot of fancy flying going on here. One from Din, but also from Bo. And apparently something they must teach you at Mando Flight School is how to like do these like zero gravity engine kill switch moves, because they're both doing them. And the one that Bo does is fucking awesome, where the wing swings around.
Yeah, she's like, I'm going to flip the wings and watch them fly right by. Like, I get Maverick vibes on that shit, man.
Yeah, that was pretty fucking sweet.
You're going to what?
And I love how the whole time R5's like floating and, like sliding around. He just
Grogu's like, his magnetic fucking ship doesn't move, and he just keeps watching this droid slide back and forth.
I was thinking about BB-8 on the Falcon in the sequel trilogy when he had those like things shoot out so that he would hold himself in place.
Keep himself suspended.
Yep. Yeah, R5 needed that, or he needed the metal, the magnetic feet to keep him, attached to the floor. They blow up those ships just when you think everything's good. Those motherfuckers, or as she called them, mud skippers. They bring in the TIE bombers, just like the Purge, just bomb her goddamn castle. And you could hear it in her voice, like, no. Like she was like, oh, fuck, she's seen this before.
I mean, she has lost everything. Mm-hmm. She didn't have her home. She didn't have her chair to sit in and pout. Nothing.
It's all gone. That poor droid that was at the castle, he's gone.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So then she starts going after him, takes one of the bombers out, and then all in comes like at least a dozen, if not more, TIEs. And she says something interesting. She said something like, she said that was a lot of ships for an Imperial warlord. So it makes you think, okay, so what exactly, where are these coming from and who's behind it?
Yeah, yeah. I was wondering the same thing, especially because her first excuse was, well, what'd she say? I've, picked up a few enemies or whatever. So they kind of, okay, I get it. You got 8 ships following you, destroy them, whatever. But then she runs into like a fucking battalion of them, and she's just going to go rogue. Like, you know what? They're all going down. Yeah. He's got to talk her out of it. Like, no, you're not going to live through this one. Come on, let's get out of here.
Yeah, she was pissed.
But yeah, like, who's behind this? Like, why are you sending all of these ships after one Mandalorian?
Right. Is Gideon operating? Is it somebody else operating that?
Right.
That's what makes you wonder. So it didn't seem like a throwaway line, put it that way.
No, not at all.
So yeah, they make the jump, and she's like, "Where are we going?" He's like, "Here's the coordinates. They won't find us here." They make the jump. Did you know they were going to the covert right away?
I assumed that's where he was going to go.
Yeah. I was like, it's either there or are they going back to Sorgan? So then back on Coruscant, Dr. Pershing is giving his TED Talk.
Exactly.
He's sharing his regrets about working for the Empire. Basically, like, I didn't realize I was kind of forced to work for the Empire and do this stuff. He's like, but because he was saying how, they were trying to use cloning for power, but there are some good things about cloning. The Kaminoans figured it out. And, he tells a sob story about losing his mother and how if they had cloning technology then he could have saved her. And that's kind of been what's driven him all these years. But he says something about how you can do it so you can take the best attributes of two donors and merge that into one, which was like, uh-oh, this sounds real scary.
Right. Yeah, but although we're looking at it as like for an organ transplant, like, or an organ replacement, right? Like that's how he's trying to sell it. But definitely, I think the evil things that were being put into play for it was we're gonna get the Snoke Palpatine thing, but
right.
I like the real life kind of I don't know, regret, like what they put behind it, like the implications of stem cells or cloning that we kind of ask or are against it ourselves, like in the real world.
Yeah, he says it later. There's a line he has that he says to that gal where he says something along the lines of like cloning is complicated or something. Cloning technology is complicated, whatever he says, something like that. It's like, yeah, because it can spin out of control pretty fast. But it also made me think, so if there's this whole concept where you can take the best attributes of two donors and merge that into one in your clone, what the fuck happened to Snoke? Must have had the ugliest two people on Earth that made that guy. Those are the best attributes?
Oh, they're the only ones that it worked out, apparently.
He's very tall,
well,
so he got the height.
Snoke's the Danny DeVito of the cloning transition,
There's
like
an Arnold
Schwarzenegger and then
While he's speaking, that gal that we saw in Gideon's ship walks in, and she's got the amnesty program pin on. But you're immediately like, she's up to fucking something. Something's going on here. And then he has this interesting chat with like these dignitaries as he walks out. They're all talking to him, and essentially some of them are like, we kind of don't know the difference between the Imperials and the New Republic, and we really don't care. We don't really get involved in that. It's like, basically, we just want to live like kings and fucking live our lives. We're just not going to get involved in that stuff.
Yes. Well, I mean, there's that snooty fuck, like, Mon Mothma's husband, where he's just like, I've been so rich. He didn't even know who he was drafted by. He wasn't sure if it was Republic or Empire. He just knew he was, but he was kind of rich enough to get out of it. And it's, the poor people were the ones that had to go off to war, basically.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. He's head in the sand. I'm still rich, so I don't really give a shit. Nothing really changed for me.
Was the place where he gave the TED Talk, was that the same place where Anakin and Palpatine had the conversation about Darth Plagueis?
Oh, I don't know. That's a good question. It did look kind of familiar.
Yeah, because the stairs going up to the place, and it was just a giant, like, auditorium. Yeah. But instead, he's giving a TED Talk instead of, giant liquid bubbles emitting music or whatever the fuck that was. Right.
I think you might be right. I think it looked very, very similar. God, it was so cool to see Coruscant. Like, it was so cool to see all those different scenes.
And surprising how much they show you compared to Andor. Like everything was kind of just gray and boring. It was just like you'd see a shot of her getting in a car and you'd see like the background of buildings. But like, I mean, you're seeing like just cityscape and going through the streets. And I mean, they really put a lot into it in every scene. Like they didn't skimp. There was noticeably different.
Yeah, it was. So he heads back to the amnesty housing because he's in the, amnesty galactic program now.
Yeah.
And he's introduced to some of the others in the program, including G68. That's what she goes by, the gal that was on Moff Gideon's ship. Couldn't go one more. Couldn't do G69. Sorry. So they're talking about rumors of Gideon escaping on the way to the War Tribunal, and someone else is like, oh no, I think they hooked him up to the Mind Flayer, which was something that we've heard before from Cara Dune back in season 2, I think, where she's like, if I get caught, they're going to hook me up to a Mind Flayer. We don't know what that is. It's just been referenced. And I think even Grief says like that's just propaganda. That doesn't exist. It's like, okay.
Okay.
We'll find out. as Pershing is settling in for his sleep. Well, he had made this comment too about how he loved these travel biscuits because they were like, what are some of the good things about the working for the Empire?
What are the things you miss?
And he loves the travel biscuits. And so he hears a ring at the door. He goes out and finds a box of those biscuits, which is a total Ted Lasso ripoff.
Yeah, no shit, it is.
It's immediately what I thought when I saw that. He's excited though, because they're his favorite. And you're also thinking like, is there like some sort of monitoring? Is there a bug in that box? You know, keeping an eye on him.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking the same thing.
Because they kind of show the box later when he's going to leave, like something's up with that.
Yeah.
Then they show him at his day-to-day, which is, let's be honest, he's a little overqualified for the job. The guy walking around handing out shit is like, why are you working here? Why do they have you working here? He's like, it's okay. I'm fine. It's fine. Shh.
I was looking for Cyril sitting in a cubicle somewhere, just getting pissed off in the background, but nothing. No crossovers yet.
Nope. I love how he says Happy Bendu Day. I had to look that up. That's essentially Friday.
Oh, okay.
Because it made me think Bendu Day. I was thinking, well, remember that dude in the Rebels that looked like a gigantic fucking moose, and he was like a between the light and the dark, and he was talking to Kanan about all that stuff, and his name was the Bendu. So I thought maybe it had some sort of tie to that, but I don't know if it's tied to that or not. But when I looked it up, it just said it's the 5th and final day of the work week. Bendu Day.
Bendu Day.
Happy Friday.
Yeah.
He heads to the street fair with G68. She's like, let's go hang out sometime. I'll show you the sights.
Yeah.
So they're eating these illuminated popsicles. They look delicious.
Yeah. Did they?
Talking about the old days. And she asked him like, hey, why aren't you continuing your cloning research? That's when he says the ethics of cloning are complicated. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But basically like, I can't do that. And she kind of intimates to him like, hey, the reason we got in trouble with the Empire originally was because we were blindly following orders of this organization. Is that something we should really be doing just because it's the New Republic? You know what I mean? Like, are we going to be putting ourselves in the same spot? So clearly she's influencing him to think a little bit outside of what he thinks is the right way to work as far as the New Republic goes. By the way, I don't know if you got this at all. This is just something I noticed. I think her name's Katie O'Brien is the actress.
Yep.
I was like, are you related to Mary Stuart Masterson? There was like some weird... Do you remember Mary Stuart Masterson from back in the 80s movies? Like Some Kind of Wonderful and...
Benny and June?
Was she Benny and June? Oh, yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. And Chances Are, she was in that. Like a bunch of movies like that. Same exact vibes. Like really, but I looked it up because I was like, is she related to her? She's not.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
Dark hair, not the blonde hair, but the way she talks and moves and mannerisms, exactly the same. I'm probably the only person who thought that. I love the fact that then he's got to go see this counselor, this droid counselor, as part of the amnesty program, where they're like, are you okay? Are you feeling any aggression towards your coworkers? Like, you're going to say yes. Yes, I am.
Yeah, no, it was weird. Like, does it just have like an automatic like lie detector test on it, or
that's what I was wondering.
Be hooked up some wires or some shit, or like his hands would be in something like Scientologist, or like, nothing's going on there. It's just we're gonna ask you some questions.
Yeah, it's like a droid parole officer, but like very pleasant, very nice.
Right.
So then he asked the droid. He's like, "So is there any chance I could continue my previous research?" And the droid's like, "No, that's prohibited by the Coruscant Accords." He's like, "Oh, okay." So then he runs into G68 again, and he mentions that he's interested in continuing his research, and she tells him it would require them leaving the designated area, and he's like, "Oh, I don't think that's a good idea." By the way, did you notice she is fucking ripped? Did you see her arm?
Yes, she is. Yeah,
she's in good shape.
Did you see her in? Did you see Quantumania?
No.
Oh, she's in that, and she's like one of the warrior women, like down in the quantum realm, and yeah, she's ripped.
Yeah, she's fit. So the next day he's at work, and he's like, he realizes that all this shit he's doing at work is he's archiving these pieces of equipment, and they're just being set to be destroyed.
I know. And
he's like, hey guys, what is it? Reuse, recycle. He's like, why are we just getting rid of old shit and destroying it? And the guy's like, because it's got the stank of the fucking Empire on it, and the New Republic doesn't want anything to do with it. So we're trying to destroy all that stuff. He's like, I could use this stuff. I could show people how to use this stuff. And he's like, I don't think you want to do that, dude.
I don't. Nope.
Because obviously you can see that he's having trouble leaving behind all the work he did. He's so focused on the work, not the powers that be, that he's like, oh, we're throwing away all this great stuff we were accomplishing with the Empire. Mind, it was for the wrong organization, let's say. But he's like, I don't want to just let that work go to waste.
They're also like painting a picture, and it seems like maybe he's starting to realize it a little bit. Like the same control he was under with the Empire is the same control he's under now with the New Republic. Just a little, it's like, it's colored differently or spoke about differently, but it's all the same thing. He's got to stay in a certain district. He's got to do the stupid job. He can't do what he wants to do. Like a lot of it is rinse and repeat, just with new paint.
Yes, for these ex-Imperials, they're in that situation where it doesn't feel all that different from what they were doing before.
Right.
He goes back to the droid. He asks this like loaded question. Like, everything should be in the best interest of the Republic, right? And anything else, it supersedes anything else, right?
It's like he's trying to clear his conscience.
I think so. And the droid's like, yeah, of course. He's like, okay, cool. So pretty much by any means necessary, Pershing is now, convinced he needs to continue his work. So he goes back to G68 and he's like, okay, I'm in. So she said, okay, we'll go tomorrow night. Now, this is a cool bit. So they go to the disposal yard. So they sneak out on this train, and he is so fucking nervous. He is having a real tough time getting there. He just keeps making eye contact.
This kid never snuck out at night to go meet a girl.
He looks so guilty. He just makes eye contact with every security guard. It's like, would you please?
Yes.
She's literally like, would you just fucking relax? Like, you're
and then like the one security guard, like he just locks eyes with and can't like the guard watch him until he's interrupted by someone else. I'm like, dude, look away.
Yeah, don't. You're way yourself. Too obvious. Yeah. Way too obvious. So they head there, and that's where she says, like, we're going to these to these disposal yards. We're gonna steal some Imperial stuff. And he's like, what? She's like, where'd you think I got the biscuits?
Right.
I love that.
Yeah.
So the conductor droids come through, and they're like, tickets, please. And they're like, uh-oh. So they just start going to the back of the train, keep changing cars. That was kind of a cool scene, seeing them jump, between cars and all that kind of stuff.
Well, and it reminded me of like a cartoon where like, the good guys are running away, but the bad guy just walks slowly, and, has no care. It's like the Terminator following you, these two fucking ticket robots.
Totally Terminator style. They're not in any rush. Well, I think the droid's also like, where are they going to go?
Exactly.
They're going to run out of room here eventually.
I mean, no one's going to jump off this train going 900 miles an hour and live.
No, so she times that. So they jump and land on, some baggage or something. So they actually land, stick the landing. And that's when he looks up and sees they're right by an old Star Destroyer. Very cool shot. It was one of the things we sort of saw a bit of in the trailer, but that's a really cool scene. And I loved watching them go on board it. And it's this like, this rundown trash Star Destroyer with critters running around and all this kind of stuff.
Yes.
And that's when she is playing him so hard the whole time. And this is where she's like, hey, what'd she say? I must have walked past you 100 times and I never introduced myself. Hi, I'm Elia Kane. Right. So she's really getting under his skin in the sense that she's like, she's earning his trust like every step of the way. Because clearly he has no friends.
And this is like, we're going to get to it in about 5 minutes here, but this is like level 1 EnTRAPment.
Yes, it is.
This whole thing.
It's total EnTRAPment, and this is also like creating an asset in spy games 101. You get their trust. You make them believe in you. They're essentially isolated themselves because they have no friends. So you're their friend now, and they want somebody to kind of believe in. Typical stuff.
Yeah, she's the Robert Redford, and he's the Brad Pitt.
That's right. She leads him to, and maybe that's. I mean, I don't know that this is the bigger play, but like, did they put him in this shitty dead end job so that he would do this? Did she have some role in that? I
have a lot of questions when we get to the end of this segment. Yeah, let's discuss.
That's essentially what Robert Redford did to Brad Pitt. He's like, I gave him like the worst job so that he was begging for something else. So then she leads him to the lab. He's gathering up supplies. They hear this noise in the distance, and they decide like, oh shit, there's somebody coming. We got to make a run for it. And they get caught. And immediately something's up with her. Now, at first, did you think like, is this going to be like Gideon people or something that like, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't know that she was necessarily going to be in with the New Republic.
Well, okay, now, is she?
Well, right.
There's a lot of questions because like when he goes into the Mind Flayer, she's like, well, he was a friend. I want to stick around. But then she turns the fucking thing up to an 11.
Yeah.
But the Mon Calamari guy was like, oh, I was in it yesterday. It was wonderful. Basically. He's like, it's not a Mind Flayer. So there's like, who's bullshitting who? And is she really working? Like, what was her goal if she really is like this secret agent getting? Is her job to find out if these people really are like what was the word they used on it? He wasn't
rehabilitated.
Rehabilitated, so that's what they were going to do. They're going to put in this and kind of jack them up a little bit because. So is that all she's doing? Is just becoming friends with these people? Is that her job to see, if they're willing to go beyond what they're supposed to and not stick within the rules of the New Republic, or is she is she like a double agent and she's doing all that stuff, but she's also still working for Gideon or somebody? Like, you know, her the ends are for the Empire, right?
Yes.
Like I don't know where she lays here.
I think it's the latter. I think
think she is Empire?
I think she is still Empire. I think she's a double agent.
Yes.
I think she's using. She just was trying to be like the whole, oh, I'm doing for the good of the Republic. I'm doing this thing.
Mm-hmm.
What I was trying to figure out is exactly what does she want to be done to him? Because is she trying to get his mind totally fucking wiped so he doesn't remember stuff? Is she trying to get him so tortured that he's even more driven to leave and rejoin the Empire and do work for them? I was trying to figure out like why is she turning that shit up to 11?
Right, because like it's supposed to erase memories, right? So she's cranking it up. It's almost like she's trying to erase everything he knows, and then what they have like his knowledge or his lab work on file somewhere, but they don't. Kind of like the same.
So take it away from the New Republic. He can't do it for the New Republic. Only we would have that technology.
Right.
That's possible. Because I was thinking, why would you want to wipe his memory so much if you want him to do work for you? But maybe that is the goal. But then why wouldn't you just kill him?
Well, because she can't kill him on Coruscant, right? So if she plays the long game and gets them to do something, and now she's left in the room to crank the fucking up, you know, wipe his memory. I mean, it's basically a really, really low scale assault like they did on Camino, just on one person. You know, they're just wiping him out.
Right. Yeah, or maybe it's a double whammy because then it earns her more trust with the New Republic, so she's more free to operate because she's like turning in other people, you know. So maybe that's part of it too. I don't know, I'm real interested to see how he comes out on the other side. Is he like a fucking vegetable, or is he, you know, like has no memory of anything?
Or was the Mon Calamari guy, was he lying? Or what did he really use it before and it's really not a mind flayer anymore, right? So we're like, oh, she cranked it up, she's a bad person, but really she's up to something else. So there's a lot going on here where we might be being duped ourselves.
Don't you love the fact that he's like, this is a mind flayer, and the Mon Calamari is like, this is a 602 mitigator. This ain't the Empire, son.
Yeah.
It is a mind flayer. You're just naming it something else, you bastards. So again, another case of, hey, the New Republic using things similar to that the Empire used. So how much better is the New Republic than the Empire if they're using similar means to torture people or whatever you want to say, treat people, reintegrate people? So a lot of gray lines, a lot of blurry lines between the two organizations. I do like the fact, though, by the way, that he turns at one point and he's like, you set me up. It's a trap. And the Mon Calamari looks over like, you're going to use that line?
Yeah. I'm thinking that she, like, the second, it's almost like her job was to infiltrate and become New Republic when Moff was captured. Yeah. Right? Like, this is part of the plan to either get him out or, did he get out? Did he really escape? And this is all to go after Pershing now. This whole thing like reeks of like 1950s, 1960s war propaganda, Nazis, and even like the government stealing like all of the scientists for the astronaut program. Yeah. Like all of this is like, it's got all real life shit going on in here. That's why I was like, at first I was like, oh, what's going on? And the more I thought about it, I was like, this is really, really like, there's a lot of things that were in this episode, a lot going on in the background. Yeah, it has. You're right. It has some parallels there. It's like one of my favorite movies is The Right Stuff, and they're, at one point they're talking about how they do take the like Nazi scientists that the Russians took some, and they said, well, there's a line I think they said something along the lines of, well, our Germans are better than their Germans. But that's sort of what they did, right? Was they all talk to each other with their numbers instead of names, so they don't know what they did war crime related or anything, Yeah, right. Like they don't know who each other were when they were working on the other side. Yes, it seems to be like they want to keep that separated. I love the fact that she's just munching on one of those fucking biscuits while she watches his brain fry, by the way. That's a nice touch at the end. She is cold-blooded. Mm-hmm. So back to the Mandalorian covert. That's where Din and Bo come out, and they, whatever that planet's called. And when they land and Paz Vizsla walks out, you're just like, oh boy, here we go. Because, Vizslas and Krees, not necessarily the best of friends. So he's not buying the whole redemption thing. He's like, fucking BS. But he's like, okay, fine, I'll take you to the armor. They go in there, and Din shares the living water sample. And it's funny, too, because Bo's like, he fell in. I had to pull him out. He's like, hey, easy.
They don't need to know that part of the story.
Yeah. I'm the hero here.
Yeah. So the armor takes the water and tests it, and she's like, "Now that's some high quality H2O." And she tells Din, "Okay, you did it. You're redeemed. By the way, Bo, just so you know, you're redeemed. Have you taken your helmet off since you went in the water?" She's like, "No." She's like, "You're one of us. Welcome to the family." And Bo's like, "Thanks." There's a lot of backslapping going on, and like, "Hey, welcome to the crew." And she's just like, "I don't like this at all." Like, she looks very uncomfortable.
Right. But it's like, she has nothing else right now. So is she going to play the game? Is she, I'm kind of curious how she really feels like when we pick back up in the next episode. Like right away, she pulls her helmet off and just starts smashing people. Don't fucking touch me.
Just like, almost like a flex on every Mandalorian around her. She just keeps taking her helmet off. See this?
Yeah.
I'm a pretty handsome woman underneath. Anyway, so that's kind of the end of the episode. So yeah, like what is next? We talked about Elia Kane, that gal, and kind of like what's her play. And at some point we got to get Gideon. I mean, he's going to be in the season. So when are we going to see him show up? At some point it has to happen. She's going to have some conversation with him. There's going to be a holo chat. Something's going to happen where we realize that they are actually working together. And this long play, like it's straight out of the Palpatine playbook. You have all angles covered.
Yes.
There's a contingency plan for everything. So he probably told her back in the day, "Hey, if they've ever captured me, you need to go do this."
Yep, I agree. I don't think we'll get as much time with the characters that we got in this episode. It'll be more of maybe crossover, kind of like where they invade the one place in Navarro and they see the old storage units of like the pre-Snoke fucking clones or whatever, maybe something like that. But I don't see, unless it's a Moff Gideon centric episode. But I don't see us like spending like a whole nother 3/4 of an episode with what's her name, Kane and Pershing.
I don't think they will, but this was definitely laying the groundwork. But I think your original call was that, I think you said episode 4 was we'd go back to Navarro. Is that what you said, or was it episode 5?
I did.
I think it's going to be.
I think
it makes the most sense. All those Mandalorians are together now, and I think you're going to get some distress call from Beef, and they're going to go out there and have to help him. So that would make sense. It's going to be an action-packed, episode next week, I think. We will see. Great episode. Love this episode. A lot of fun. Like I said, I think the beef that most people will have is that they're going to say like the side story took too long, that they really like let you sit and stew in it. And I'm okay with it. Like you said, it had an Andor feel to it. They let it breathe.
Yes.
They don't just rush it. And I mean, in the end, we got like a 56-minute episode or something, so I'll fucking take it.
Right.
What else were they going to show with Bo and Mando this episode?
I mean, this really, they've been teasing this stuff across the kind of the Bad Batch, right? And in Mando for 2 seasons. So we really needed like a long, hard look at some of this stuff so we can see where we're going from here. So like I said, I don't think there'll be more, a shit ton more this season, but this really shows us what the hell is kind of going up.
Yeah.
And how important the cloning is,
Yeah, it gets into the cloning storyline, and it really gets into the blurriness between the New Republic and the Empire. And I think that's an important thing that they're trying to demonstrate, is that it's not like it's just the good guys, New Republic 1, and everything's rosy. And if you read some of the books about the New Republic that have been put out there, they talk about that kind of stuff a lot. There's a lot of issues.
Yes.
It's not like it's all rosy because they won the fight. They destroyed the second Death Star. There's a lot of issues and a lot of infighting and a lot of people trying to take advantage of situations. So this kind of leads into that. All right, Bad Batch. Pabu. You ready?
Pabu. Yes, let's do it.
So obviously this is more of like a kind of a tone-setting episode for what's to come. We get a little bit more build up on the whole Sid relationship just continuing to falter. We get more Hunter guilt about Omega and her not having a proper childhood. And also their own thoughts about like, do we really kind of want to keep doing this soldiering gig, or do we need to fucking settle down and chill? Because we're just running in circles here.
And also, what's up with like all of a sudden lusty eyes between Tech and what's her face?
She was calling him brown eyes and doing all that flirty stuff the first time around, but this episode, like, he was looking back a lot. Like Tech was feeling something down south.
Yeah. And then he straight up freaking shoots the harpoon gun or whatever, the grappling cable, like Batman and Kim Basinger, just saves her ass. I'm like, uh-oh, we're gonna see an episode where they're on Pabu in their own little hut. Noises are happening. Tech's making babies.
I have just completed my orgasm. Have you?
Yeah.
Oh man. So we open with Phee Genoa making a deal with some guy named Crowder. By the way, the dude who voices Crowder, I looked it up. I think his name is it Steve Bloom? It's the guy who did Zeb on Rebels. Same guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So she's got Omega with her, and they're buying what looks like a sculpture of a bonsai tree.
Yes. Yeah.
Crowder tries to poison her with a drink, and she, blows that off. And then we get this little creepy crawly thing trying to stab her and poison her, and Hunter steps in and stops it. Now, is that are we to presume that's the same thing in Attack of the Clones that tries to kill Padme, those little things? Remember those things that crawl all over Padme?
Oh, right. Yeah, I think you're right.
I was thinking if that might be the same thing.
Yep.
So then Wrecker steps in also, and they end up battling Crowder. It's a cool fight
so funny.
scene.
You should have brought more muscle.
Yeah, he's like,
she did. And he fucking stands up.
He stands up, and that guy just keeps looking up like, oh, shit, you're big. So in the end, they're able to get out of there with some smoke grenades and some fancy shooting, and they get the artifact and the money. So it worked out well.
Yep.
They got both things.
They finally completed a mission.
They did.
Unfortunately, it was not for Sid.
It was not for Sid. And on the way home, Fee's telling the batch, like, you need to let Omega's a girl, like a little girl. Like, she needs to be doing other stuff than just going around acting like a soldier. Like, she needs friends.
I love how Tech's we never had any of that.
I know. He doesn't get it at all.
She? Like, the thoughts never crossed any of their minds.
I like how she says she needs to hang out with people who are not the same genetic composition.
Yes.
So they get the threatening message from Sid, who's just pissed off and basically just reminding them, I know all your backstory and shit. I can pretty much sink you, so you better get your ass back here or you better be dead. One or the other.
And what'd she say? It's been 30 rotations?
20 rotations, which
20?
I believe is just like a day, right? So it's been 3 weeks.
I think so, yeah.
And that's when Fee's even like, she got to be careful about her. Like she's a what'd she say? She's an ally, but like you don't fuck with her. You don't cross her. Like she could get you into deep shit. So they end up going to, she's like, why don't you guys come with me to Pabu? So she takes it. The most friendliest and most welcoming place in the entire galaxy. They're in there inside of like 2 minutes. They're like, you guys should just live here.
I know.
Right away.
And at first I'm like waiting for something like, all right, where's the conspiracy? Like what's bad happening here? But just seems like, a good community.
I know. They're the nicest people, so welcoming. I think it's because of the history. They have so many refugees from so many other places. That's just what they do. They take people in and everybody's kind of, in lockstep. Was Pabu on the map before? Uh-oh. Star Wars map makers are pissed. I got to add Pabu now. Where the fuck am I putting this on the map?
It wasn't? Did you check the map we got from Royal Farm Boy?
I didn't check the map, but I checked the Star Wars wiki stuff, and this is the first reference to it, so it's got to be brand new.
Is Pabu the planet or just that island?
Good question. I'm not sure. I assumed the planet. But
I was thinking it was the island, but
it could be. I don't know. I'm not sure. Seems like whenever you go to a Star Wars place, it's, we always joke about how the scale of it.
Yes.
There's like the one place people go on the entire fucking planet.
Yeah,
it's like when people talk about Jakku, this big sand planet, and they talk about one little shitty outpost that's on Jakku.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
That's it. Mm-hmm.
They explain the whole thing about how it's, refugees. She's recovering artifacts that are important to the cultures of the different refugees that live there, even though it's not worth money. Up walks Shep Hazard and his daughter Liana, and they greet, Phee and the crew. And I love how when he's talking, he's kind of having a little back and forth dialogue with Phee and Shep are.
The mayor?
Yeah, the mayor. And Wrecker slaps Tech and goes, oh, you got competition. Wrecker's picking up on the vibe.
That was funny. I laughed out loud at that.
Tech doesn't understand it at all. Shep makes them this feast, and Hunter starts asking about the island. He's like, aren't you worried about the Empire? And he's like, they don't really, we're not really on their radar. We don't really have resources that they can suck dry. We're probably fine. And if they show up, we'll deal with it, It's pretty cool.
It's kind of like a galactic Australia.
Yeah, kind of.
Like all the refugees and prisoners just run off to this island, and they're all hiding there.
So then I love how they're like, Omega and Liana are like, we're gonna go for a sunset cruise in the boat, and they're like, have fun, go nuts.
Yeah.
I'm like, ooh, I don't think I'd let
That's
my
the
kid
first
go out
time
on
I think they've ever told her to go have fun.
I know they want her to have fun, but if that was me, I'd be like, what are you doing? Where are you going? I need to make sure. Maybe I'm too much of a helicopter parent. I'd be like, I don't know about that. And that's when Phee just keeps throwing it at Hunter. Like, maybe you guys should live here. I don't know. She could have a nice little childhood here. And he keeps kind of warming up to the idea. Like, he is really starting to get to the point where he's just done with this shit. Then we get the earthquake. Hunter sees all those little monkey things. What are they called? Munyos or something. scattering, and he's like, something's
Kind of like
wrong.
rats going to higher ground. You're like, what's going on here? He picks up on it right away.
The animals always know best. So yeah, they're like, it's just like a minor tremor. This happens all the time. But then the next thing you know, another one hits. And the fucking tsunami siren goes off, and they're like, Wrecker, that's not good,
Yeah.
And so Omega and Liana get stuck away from shore. They can't get back because all the water's receding against them. They're like try to hightail it on the ground and essentially.
They're running on the beach that is now 3 miles long because the water's receded so far.
Right, and it's so far to go, and that tidal wave that's coming in looks very ominous.
Holy shit! Yeah.
And Hunter goes in and scoops them up just before they get splashed by the tsunami. But in the meantime, they're evacuating Lower Pabu, which is just going to get absolutely devastated in a second. At one point, Phee and Tech are like you said, they use the grappling hook to go up and deploy the emergency ladders.
The ladders.
I love how they're like, oh, the mechanism to release these is rusted through. Then how are we so sure that the fucking ladders aren't going to be rotted? Like I was waiting for those things to just bust through when people try to use them. I mean, sea life. True. You know how wood and all that shit gets deteriorated. So I don't know.
Yeah,
they worked. They didn't get into that. But then Hunter, and then we get to the very end. They're able to get all the people up. The whole Lower Pabu is totally decimated. And all these poor refugees who have obviously had to deal with this before, had to vacate their homes before, and now they're in the same goddamn position again.
It's like all of those island people who live in like Hurricane Alley. Yeah, every year they just got to rebuild their home.
Rebuild it again. Yeah.
Although I think like maybe this time when they rebuild, they should rebuild like a couple of stair sets around that tower, so there's more than one way to get up.
I think you're right. Yes, they need to make it a little easier to evacuate. It's like those signs you see when you go to the beach that point in the direction tsunami, go this way, and it's like there's no time to get out of here. Are you crazy? Yeah, or maybe build a massive seawall, although that would take away the beauty because it is a lovely place. It would. Mm-hmm. But then, Hunter basically says, well, you know what? We can stick around and kind of help you rebuild. So it makes you think, okay, now what's next? Are we to presume they're going to hang out there for a little while? And eventually it's going to lead to... Because the next episode's called Tipping Point, which makes you think that's Sid related, doesn't it?
Yeah, that or I'm wondering if there's something on that planet that causes the earthquake that they go to investigate, which puts them back on a mission, Well,
I was thinking it's either that or is somebody going to come to that planet? Are they going to come after Omega? Somehow track her to that planet. I don't think so. I think this episode has set up that when this season or when the series is totally over, any surviving members of the batch are going to end up coming back to Pabu and like this is where we're going to chill for the rest.
That's where you're going to think they're going to retire there.
I think so.
Yeah, because we don't know if there's. Well, I mean, are they going to be able to wrap this up? Or I would guess there's going to be another season of this show.
There has to be. That's what I was thinking. There has
because
to
there's
be
only
season.
What do we have? 3 episodes or 4 episodes?
3 to go.
Three episodes to go. 1 standalone, and then we've got 2 doubles in 2 weeks.
Yeah, so my hunch is...
Two episodes.
The double finale. My hunch is that the next episode is the tipping point with Sid. Maybe this is when she literally tips off the Empire where, how to find Omega and how to go after them. And so that's where they're going to sever ties with her, and they're going to have to... And maybe even Omega gets taken, but I also think they probably want to end this season on a cliffhanger. So maybe Omega's taken right at the end of the season.
Yeah.
Because there's got to be another season. I just don't see how you wrap up all these storylines. There's still so much that they could, do with this and these characters. Yeah. You can't wrap that up in 3 episodes. There's no fucking way.
Yeah, I think so. There'll be another one for sure.
We still got all the Mount Tanta stuff to deal with. I mean, there's a lot to do. There's no way that they're done after this season. And that was it. Yeah, the last 2 episodes, by the way, are called The Summit, which does sound like Mount Tantus, and Plan 99, which makes me think they're reunited at the end there. Those are the last 2 episodes.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
We shall see. All right. Well, good episode, but I mean, not as deep on the overall storyline, but we had a lot of that in the last 2 episodes. So this was kind of, I think, the last one that just builds into that. Should we go to the Maul Bag?
Let's do it. I want to hear this one email in the Maul Bag.
I know. You're so mad. You didn't put out the feelers, the call.
It's my bad.
It's your fault.
Right. Yeah. I'll get better at that.
No answering machine messages this week, but just one email, and that is from Jennifer, our favorite soccer mom.
Yeah.
Hi, Darth Mathias and Ginger Jedi. Thanks for the shout out this week. I definitely think you should advertise yourselves as the Star Wars podcast for suburban soccer moms. Seriously, I'm just so pleased to find out after the last 9 years that Matt is, I think, even more of a Star Wars geek than I am.
Last 9 years? So you've known her for 9 years?
Yeah, because so her son and my son are best friends, and they've known each other since kindergarten.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's how long we've known them.
Is that the consultant?
That's the consultant. Yep. exactly.
Okay, the 9-year-old.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Well, he's not 9-year-old. He's going to be 14.
So 9
they
years
met.
old.
They met in
Yeah,
kindergarten.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
She said, "Thank you for making my commutes to and from work so much better than listening to politics." Jen, thank you, Jen.
You're welcome. I like this, Jen.
She's great. I saw her at the soccer game, and she mentioned. I said, "Thanks for the email. I actually didn't think that you were caught up on our episodes." And she said, "Oh yeah, like I got caught up on. I had been listening to the older ones, but I got caught up on Mandalorian. You know, with the Mandalorian starting and stuff. I wanted to watch it because she was saying how her husband, he watched was it the first episode of Mandalorian, and he was just kind of like, it was all right. She's like, he just doesn't have the passion I do. So she's like, so I like listening to you guys talk about it.
Awesome.
So thank you, Jen. You get an entry.
Yeah.
You get an entry for that.
Boom. You know what? Save us on shipping if she wins.
I know. Just hand it to her.
Yeah. You got to hand it to her at a soccer game.
Right. Here you go. Everybody's like, what the fuck is that? Yeah. And why does he have that calendar in his hand of shots of him sprawled out on a bear rug, on a Wookiee rug? I think that's it.
That's it. No Fact My Answer Machine. Bummer. Do we have a number? How are we setting that up? What are we doing with the Fact My Answer Machine?
It's just meant to be send us audio. We can. There's ways
because
you can
record
do it.
themselves like a memo and send it in an email.
Correct. There's ways.
Yeah.
I'll have to look back at the Libsyn site because I think there's a little plugin you can do that adds a little button people can click on the website to leave a voicemail. So that maybe that makes it easier for people. I think I had it on an old podcast I did and nobody ever used it. So I was like, I don't know if anybody's ever going to use this.
Yeah, it was Speaker Box or
it's Speaker Box maybe. Or something else.
That. And then years ago, I had there was a number that you could do through the internet. We had a number for multiple podcasts, but that was years ago.
The number's kind of nice, but how difficult is it for you to record a memo on your phone and send it in an email? That's kind of the easiest way to go, I think. So, yes, please send those in. And like I said, for episode 100 coming up, we only got 2 episodes to go. If you want to send anything in to us to ask us questions or talk shit to us or whatever you want to do for commemorating our 100th episode, please do send those in the next couple weeks, and we will share those on the air.
We sure will. So, look, thank you for listening. Until next time.
In our experience, there's no such thing as luck.
We have spoken.